Let's see here. If we have 6 names, Elmo, Zoe, Oscar, Bert, Ernie, and Grover, do you know these? Where are these names from? Yes, from Sesame Street. So Elmo is actually my favorite monster, all right? Okay. So these are the index. These are the index of the list S, all right? Of the list S. Elmo is S0. Zoe is S1. Oscar is S2. And the last one, Grover, is actually S5. Is there any question about this? No. But this time, when we have the K, we want to count it from last, not from the beginning. So we can do this. If we want Grover, then he is the last one. You can have LENS minus 1. And if you want the second from last, you can have LENS minus 2. In this case, what is LENS? What does LENS return? For this one, for this list, it's actually 6. So 6 minus 1 is what? 5. 6 minus 2 is what? 4. Do you know what I'm talking about here? Any question? So this time, if you have S, LEN minus K, that is actually the kth elements from the last. Do you know what I'm talking about? Any question? I want to make sure everybody understands before I keep going. Those who understand, please raise your hand. Those who don't, please raise your hand. Those who didn't raise your hand, please raise your hand. Those who have fallen asleep, please raise your hand. Those who don't want to listen to me, please raise your hand. All right. Okay, here. However, in Python, this is the way you do it in other languages. Actually, in Python, and Python only, there's an easier way to do it. When we have S LENS minus N, let me change it to K, because we had the K from the last page. When we have this LENS minus K, you can actually take this LENS out and leave it like this, S minus K. When Python finds that you have a minus or negative number, you have a negative number as an index, it will put this LENS back on to make it positive. Do you know what I'm talking about? No? This is actually the same like this. You don't have to do this. You don't have to type LENS. You don't have to type LENS at all. But this is only for Python. If you are writing programs, if you are programming in C++ or in Visual Studio like Basic or something, in other languages you have to do something like this. However, in Python, you can have a negative number as the subscript, as the index. When Python finds the subscript, finds that the subscript is actually negative, it will add the lens, the length of the list, back on. It will add it back on to make it positive. Do you know what I'm talking about? So you can actually put s minus 1 for the last item of this list, and minus 2 as the second to last item in the list. So what we are going to do is something like this. If you are still confused, just look at this. 5 and negative 1 is actually the same item here in this list. 4 and negative 2 is the same here. If you want to, I can actually I can actually give you a test, do a test for you. Input that splits, and then I'll copy this input. For this one, if you have S5, what are you going to get? What are you going to get? You'll get Grover. Not Ernie, it's actually Grover because it starts with 0. It starts with 0 like this. So when you have S5, you'll get this Grover. All right? But if you have S minus 1, remember, negative subscripts are not allowed in other languages, but only in Python. You can have a negative subscript in Python. When you have S minus 1, it will still give you Grover. Do you know what I'm talking about here? Any question? All right. So this is actually the answer to this problem. You don't really need that len right there. You can take out len and then have a negative subscript, and that is okay in Python. Any question? If you don't have any, I will ask you a question. From the beginning to the end, the subscripts start with 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the subscripts of the list, right? Okay? But if you are counting from the end, if you are counting backward from the end, why does it start with minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 instead of the 0? Why does it start with minus 1 instead of 0? Exactly. That will be confusing if this one is 0. And then when you have S0, is it Elmo or is it Grover? That is confusing, right? So you cannot start with 0 counting from backwards. Okay? If you are counting from backwards, from the end, counting backwards from the end, and then you need to start with minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, etc. Do you know what I'm talking about here? Any question? All right. If you don't have any question, then let's keep on going, like an Energizer bunny. Do you know what Energizer bunny is? That's okay. That's not important. So the next problem that we are going to work on is this one. Teacher Snail's roll sheet. All right, but this problem is easy. I will give you some names in a line, and then you need to output each name in one line, alone in one line. Each name alone in one line. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay. How are you going to do it? You might say, that's easy. I know how to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it. You can do something like this. Like S is equal to inputs dot splits. Then I will print S0. Then copy that 4 times. One, 2, and 3. And then let's run it. And let's have this line of text as inputs. Isn't that easy? This is the easiest problem this semester, right? I'm sorry, this is not the answer.
So what if the name is more than 5?
Exactly. This is not the answer to it. If you copy this one and then paste it here and save it and evaluate it, you'll get 0 out of it. This time you're not lucky. You're not going to get either 30 or 80. You'll get 0 out of it. So what is the problem? Why are we getting 0 out of this problem with this answer? Why? Number 17 already provided the answer, but say it out loud, louder this time for everybody to hear. So I know you already provided the answer, but I want you to say the answer louder this time. Why isn't this the correct answer? Why doesn't that work?
If the input name is more than 5, if more than 4, it will not be correct.
Exactly. If we have more than 5 names in the list, or if we have less than 4 names in a list, then it's not going to work. Do you know what I'm talking about? How many names there will be in the problem? What does it say? N is between 1 and 30 inclusive. All right? There will be up to 30 names in the inputs. But you only print out how many? You only print out 4. So what are you going to do? How are you going to do? So we want to copy that 30 times, but it's not going to work either. If you have less than 4, that's also a problem. Like this. Oh, I'm sorry. if we have only 3? If we have only 3 names, but you printed 4, you will get an error message. What is the error message? List index out of range. This index is also known as subscript in some other contexts. All right? When you are talking about index, that's the same as the subscript for a list. All right? So it is actually the subscript out of range. When we have 3 items, what is the subscript for the first one? 0. What is the subscript for the second one? 1. What is the third one, which is the last? 2. Do we have S3 at all? No. So this one is actually telling the number 3 is out of range. You can have the number up to 2 only. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay? So will it work? If I copy and paste for 30 times, will that work? No, it's not going to work either. So what do we do? Can you come up with any answer to this? No. I have something to tell you. I have something to show you before you can solve this problem. All right? What is that? Okay. This time, I'm going to give you a different approach to do this. What is that different approach? This here we are going to have this for this answer we have 4 prints, right? You can actually print out 4 names. You can actually print out 4 names with only 1 print. You can do something like this. You can actually put all the things that you want to print inside this pair of parentheses and separate them with commas. Do you know what I'm talking about? For this one, you can see 4 names printed if you give him 4 names. Exactly the same. All right? However, for this problem, we want 1 name, each name alone in a line. So this is not what we want. This is not the format that we wanted. What do we do this time? I'm going to show you the full syntax of prints. You can type in help prints, and then Python will tell you how to use prints. And this line right here is actually the full syntax of prints. The full syntax of prints. For this one here, do you see that? Value is the thing that you want to print out. What does it mean when it is followed by ... What does it mean? What does it mean by ... This is actually called ellipse, or not eclipse, ellipse. Ellipse. I don't know. I probably spelled it wrong. Ellipse. Ellipse. But ellipse is a software. So what is it? No. Sorry, I'm not. Still not ellipse. So it is. I will find out. Let's call it dot dot dots for now. So what does it mean by these 3 dots? You don't know? It actually tells you that you can print out more than one value. That's what we are doing right now. How many values that we have printed with this one print instruction? 4. So you can have more than one value to print. Do you know what I'm talking about? That's what that dot 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 means. Okay? Understand? All right. If you do, let's keep on moving. And for these values, they are actually positional parameters. That's how we call that, positional parameters. Positional parameters, all right? They are positional parameters. What does that mean? That means the meaning of that parameter is defined by its position. If you switch the position of the parameters, the outcome will be different. Like this one here. What if I change this to 3, 2, 1, 0? Is the output will still be the same? No, it will be different. If you switch the positions of the values, the outcome will be changed too. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, that's what we called positional parameter. Okay, and after all the positional parameters are listed, they are followed by some optional keyword parameters. What are keyword parameters? The keyword parameters are these ones. Print instruction, print function. Print function has got 4 keyword parameters, which are sep and file and flush. How many keyword parameters does print function have? How many? I just told you the answer. How many? How many keyword parameters there are in print function? 4. What are the 4 keyword parameters? Sep and file and flush. These are the keyword parameters. In contrast, the keyword parameters will be the same if you switch the sequence of that. Like this one here. Can I list the file first and then sep? Can I do that? Can I change them around in the position? Can I do that? Yes. Because keyword parameters are not positional. The function and the definition of the parameter is defined by its keyword. So it doesn't matter where you put it. Do you know what I'm talking about here? Okay? So that's a keyword parameters. There's another very important idea about the keyword parameter, which is keyword parameters have default values. keyword parameters got default values. What does that mean? Look at this. Step is equal to a space. That means you can specify the step parameter. If you don't, that's okay. It's got a default value of a space. The print function will use the space as sep. What is a sep? A sep is a separator. What does that mean? Let me show you. Sep, let me copy this to the program. Oh, I'm sorry. I have this extra comma right there. That means I want to use this space as a separator to separate these 4 parameters. Python will put 1 space between each 2 parameters. It will put a space between, let me change it back to 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay? It will put a space between S0 and S1, another space between S1 and S2, and another space between S2 and S3, like this. See, there's a space here between the first and second parameter, a space between second and third, a space between third and the fourth. All right? But there might be a chance that you don't want a space between them, and you can change it. You can change the default value. All right? And it is easy to change it. Just do it right here. Like if you want to put a minus, equal, and minus between each 2, you actually put more than 1 characters in there. All right? And then it will use minus, equal, minus as the separator and put that in between each 2 parameters. And if you run the program, it will be something like this. Do you see that? It will put the separator between each 2 names. As the separator between each 2 names. The separator between each 2 names. Do you know what I'm talking about here? Okay? So, you can actually change it. You can actually change the separator. In that case, can I use the enter as the separator so that it will be, each name will be along in 1 line? Can we do that? Can we? So, but how are we going to do that? How are we going to specify enter as the separator? You might say, sir, it's easy. Enter is hitting the enter on the keyboard like this. Yes. They will do it, right? No, it's not going to work. If you run it, and then you'll get a syntax error. It's not going to work. No, not like this. Then how? If it's not working like this, it doesn't work like this. How are we going to specify enter as the separator? How are we going to do it? Like I told you, if you have something to say, how are you going to say it? you going to say it? I'm asking you. You have something to say. How are you going to say it? Yes, you have to say it out loud. So what did you say? What did you tell your neighbor? Nothing. That's not the answer. All right. We have to do something like this. We have to have the escape sequence. Escape sequence. Yes. Escape sequence. And what is escape sequence? I have something for you to read. Okay, right here. Escape sequence. All right? This is so-called escape sequence. ESCAPE, escape sequence. Escape sequence. And this is the escape sequence. And what are they for? For instance, if I want you to put a single quote, what is a single quote? This is a single quote. All right? This is a single quote. If I want you to put a single quote as the separator, what are you going to do? Can I do this? No? If you want to a single quote inside, what do? You need to have a double quote outside. And this time, you're going to have a single quote as the separator. What are you going to do if you want a double quote as the separator? You put single quotes outside and double quotes inside. And then you're going to have that double quote as the separator. Do you see that? Okay? All right, now this is a tricky one. What does it mean by tricky? Harder one. What if I want to have a single quote and a double quote and a single quote as the separator? What do you want? What do you put outside? Double quote? Do you think that will work? If you double quote here, like this, is it going to work? No, it's not going to work. This double quote will end here. This is not what you want. So what do? If I want a single quote and double quote and single quote as the separator. That's the time. This is the time you need the escape sequence. You need an escape sequence right here. If you want a single quote, you have a backslash single quote instead. If you want to output a double quote, you put a slash double quote instead. So that's what we need to do. Let me do that for you. You can do either single quote or double quote. Or let me have a double quote. Let's have a double quote right here. But for the double quote, this double quote, you will end here. So you are going to have a backslash double quote. To tell Python, this is not the end of the string. This is a double quote that I want to output. Do you know what I'm talking about? And then this string will actually end here. All right? So in this case, if you run it, then you're going to have a single quotes, double quotes, and single quotes as the separator. Do you see that? Okay. Any question? All right. Now, what if I want to have a backslash as this? Can I do this? Double quotes, backslash, double quotes. Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I? No, that's a syntax error. What is going on? Because this backslash will take this double quotes as the escape sequence of one double quotes right here. And there's no matching double quotes outside. So if we want to output one backslash, what do? We need to have a double backslash right there. And when you run it, how many double slashes that you are going to see in between any two parameters? You will see only one. You will see only one. When you put two double slashes, you will see only one. Do you know what I'm talking about? Any question? So this is the escape sequence. Now, I'm going to ask you the most important question about this program. What if I want to use a enter as the separator? Right here, this is the new line, enter. And the escape sequence for that is \n. Do you know what I'm talking about here? \n is the escape sequence for enter. Therefore, if we put \n, what are we going to see? Ooh, do you see that? Do you see that? We finally have the enter as the separator. That's how the escape sequence works. Do you know what I'm talking about here? Okay? Any question? All right. But we haven't solved that problem yet. What problem? The number of names in the line, in the inputs. All right? There may be 5 names, maybe 10 names, maybe 25 names. But not always 4 names. So what do we do here? Can we do this? Dot, dot, dot. S minus 1. What is S minus 1? The last item. The last item of S. Can we do this?
That's so smart.
What? It's you see that? The word that I was trying to find is here. Ellipsis. Did I see what I was trying to find? Not ellipse. It's what? ellipsis. What is ellipsis? What is a ellipsis? Do you see that? Ellipsis. So, do you see that? I only have 4 names, but how many lines it outputted? 5. And what is an ellipsis? Because I put 3 dots right here. For this problem, what are you going to see if I have 6 names? What are you going to see if I give it like maybe let's try it again. Oh, I already started it. What if I have 6 names? Is that what you want? Is that what you want? No, it's not what you want. What's wrong with it? When I print as 0, it will give you this Elmo. When I print as 1, it will give you this Zoe. And S2 is Oscar. And dot, dot, dots, it will give you ellipses. Is that what you want? And then -1 is what? Grover. What about Bert and Ernie? You don't see Bert and Ernie here in the list of output, but you see the extra ellipses. So this is not working. What do? It's easy. Let me show you. Look at here very closely. Very, very closely. See what I am trying to do. I have a star and S. That's it. What does it mean? Star S means I want to unpack S. Unpacking. Star is unpacking. Okay, use a star to unpack. You use a star to unpack a list. What does it mean to unpack? It's exactly like this. If you have 4 names, it will put out S0, S1, S2, and S3. If you have 6 names, it will put out S0, S1, S2, S3, S4, and S5. It will put out all the items inside the list. It's called unpack. To unpack S into this format. Do you know what I'm talking about? And this is a very important idea that I want to show you. Using a star, you can use a star to unpack a list. What does it mean to unpack? It will take out all the items and put them right here in this place like this. All the elements will be taken out to put that inside the print. As it will use all the items inside S as parameters, as the values to print. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, so after we delete it and run it again, this time, no, not this. Oops. All right. Is that the right answer? Do you see that birds and any right here? So this is the answer to that problem. This is the answer to that problem. All right? And there are two very important concepts here I want you to understand. Two important concepts. First is unpacking using A star. All right? The second concept is the separator. You can specify a string as the separator, and it will put the separator between each two parameters. Any question? And I'm going to put all the answer that I want to give you in this presentation right here. And how are you going to get this presentation? You can still see this presentation at home if you want to. And where do you get them? Let's do it here. Here. Scroll it to the bottom of this page. You will see teachers folder right there. And then in the teachers folder, using the accounts from the school, and then you will be able to see a 120 right there. 120 right here. And 109 is the academic year. 109 is the year. And 120 is the class. If you click on this one, you will see exactly the same presentation that you see right here, even when you are at home. All right? Any question? And I'm going to put all the answer up here. And if you need to reference to the answer, you can always come back to this presentation. Any question at all? No? And let's do it right now.